Hello, everybody. The key to the quality of your life has everything to do with the quality of the relationships that you have and the decisions that you make in terms of living out your life. So we're talking about the work-life balance, which is one of the most important areas of our lives. When we think about it, everybody in life wants to earn a living. Everybody wants to be able to manifest themselves, develop and create the finances that they want just so that they can take care of their family. I mean, I'm a husband and I raised 5 kids, and understanding that beyond just my personal kids and my wife, I have a mother, I have other family members, I have other friends. I like to create and be able to develop and secure a lot of finances so that I can do more with. And so part of that, one of the biggest issues that we have in America where, it's like the land of opportunity, is that sometimes when something is so plentiful, it can, if not understood or not moderated correctly, it can throw everything off, and it can actually, what turned out to be a blessing can be a curse. So what I'm talking about the work-life balance. Well, what is work-life balance? It's basically the balance that you have, that ratio between, in one hand, you're putting forth all this energy and this effort towards bringing in finances, manifesting your gift, okay, in the areas of the fulfillment of the security financially, and the actual life component. The things that help you live a long life, those things that you're passionate about, those things that fulfill a deep purpose within your life. And so understanding that this work-life balance has so much to do with the quality of your life, a lot of times we say, well, wait a minute, how do I find it? How do I achieve it? I'm sure there's a lot of people that get up in the morning only to feel like, man, I want to lay back down and go back to bed. Only because they're so drained and so pushed, and they're feeling like they're so deprived from doing things that they really love to do. And so I remember for me, when it comes to work-life balance, in terms of understanding that, when I played in the NFL, the NFL was not like baseball or basketball where you traveled a whole long time, but the NFL schedule was such that, we had to, for the most part, be at the stadium around 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, and then you typically come home around 5. When it came time for games during the season, you would basically go away to their away game. You'll leave about 8 o'clock on a Saturday, and then you wouldn't come home until about, after the game was over, about a few hours after your game was over on a Sunday. So for the most part, you wouldn't be going that long. But even though we've had a lot of time, even though we've had a lot of time to be with our family, there could also be some times where, to be the best in what you want to do, to grow greater than you are right now, a person may feel like, in order for me to do that, I got to put in a lot of time. And so one of the things that I realized in my life, and I want to share with you in terms of specific areas that I had to try to establish work-life balance, raising little children, having a family, being, someone who was a community advocate and had a foundation. How did I establish it? So here's some of the things I remember. I remember when I was playing, one of the things that I always wanted to do was I had to first understand that I wasn't just a football player. And so therefore I may be the best football player in the world, but if I'm not a great husband, if I'm not a great father, if I'm not a great person, within the community, then if I'm not those things, then you know what, I failed. And I know that finances answers a lot of problems and it answers a lot of challenges, while at the same time, how many people have the finances and looking for the next bridge to jump off of? How many people have all the finances that they want, but at the end of the day, they're so unfulfilled on the inside? And so part of trying to find that work-life balance is really understanding that you are more than just the finance you're bringing in. When you're looking at your life, and as I looked at my life, I had to realize and say, okay, what are the areas of my life that means the most to me? What are the areas in my life that I want to be enriched and I want to be fulfilled in? And some of the areas that I found out that I wanted to be rich and fulfilled in was everything from not only just my career as an NFL player, but as a family man. How about in my health and my fitness, taking care of my body? Okay, how about my family relationships? I was one of 5 kids. I enjoyed my brothers and sisters. So how do I now, in this new chapter of my life, this new age, new era, what do I do to maintain those relationships? And I talk about that in a previous chapter as well. How about from my spirituality? Okay, how am I growing there? Am I just being driven by everything, or am I being led from the inside out? What am I doing with my friendships? Who's supporting me? If you look at your life as a tree and 95% of the people around you are here for the fruit of your tree, then who's taking care of the root of your tree? That has everything to do with managing and cultivating those relationships. You see, having work-life balance has everything to do with managing the fact that, yes, I'm working over here for finances and manifesting my gifts and talents in this area. But how about the other areas as well that which are so pivotal to the important to me sustaining a balanced life as well? How about community service? What is the passion and purpose? What is the challenge that you see in this world that if you could snap your finger, you would want it to go away? And so I had to think about that, and that's why when I was playing, I started my foundation. I would do life camps, and I would bring people, high school kids in the inner city, and I bring about 150 there to a football camp. And throughout that day, it was a full day event, and I would have organizations from the local colleges come in and talk about SAT and ACT prep. I will bring in organizations that can help with parents with understanding how to help them with the clearinghouse process and what to do. What are some local organizations in their town as well, and how they can get connected with them as well. I also will bring in I actually brought in some of my NFL players to come in and coach the guys. And so what was I doing? I knew that my main source of income was being a professional athlete, but I also knew that my focus and my ability to impact my community helped me become a better football player, because I just wasn't narrow focused. I was fulfilling the purposes of my heart. And that's what it takes when we talk about work-life balance, factoring all these different things. How about, so we talk about community, how about your hobbies? What do you like to do? What do you like to do that bring you enjoyment? There's so many people getting so burned out because they're not focusing on what is it they'd like to do, and they're not making time for that. And pretty soon here, I'm going to share some strategies with you, some things that I like to do and that I suggest that you do that's going to help you have that work-life balance, that gives you that balance that you need, that you can be even more effective. Okay, how about your passions? What are you passionate about? At the end of the day, when you land on, when your life is over, when you take your last breath, what do you want to be said about you? Here lies a person who what? You fill in a blank. Lies a person who what? Well, whatever that what is, that's what you need to start planning and developing now, because that gives you the work-life balance. Have you ever had a day where you was at work and man, you was just working, and then a thought of how the house is messy, the thought of the tension in your relationships, the thought of who's got to run errands and all this stuff, the thought of, man, how your blood pressure's rising and you just want to go work out, you want to relax, you want to have all this other stuff, and the fact that just the thought of that, you're pushing, helping somebody else's dreams come true and helping somebody else's pocket get fat, okay? And you're just sometimes just making barely enough. But then when you think about all the things you got to do, it drains you. You see, you're putting all your energy, your effort, you're putting all your motivation, you're putting all these things into something or someone else. But who's taking care of you? Where's the balance at? And so again, taking a look at what are your passions that you have. How about your intellectual stimulation? I mean, when's the last time you read a book? What book are you reading? What book are you learning? Or are you just living based off of the information you know? You see, our minds and our brains, if they say we only use about 13% of them, well, what about the other 87%? What's filling that up? What's opening that? What's illuminating that? Or are you just comfortable with just knowing what you know now? Imagine if your children say, you know what, I had enough. I went to 5th grade and I'm done. I'm good. Yep, I'm good. Imagine how you feel about that. Well, it's the same thing for us now. If you're not continuously growing and learning and developing the intellectual ability, then you're wasting. You're wasting away. And whatever you don't use, you lose. Whatever you don't use, you lose. And so again, living life with work, having work-life balance has everything to do with taking all these things into consideration. And then the last thing, how about your rest and recreation? How about that? Have you factored in time for you to rest, for you to get recovered, for you to have recreation, for you to just let it all down and have a good time? When's the last time you just danced? You turned some music and man, you just danced. When's the last time you took yourself to the movies? When's the last time that you just sat back, man, and you just turned the movie on and you just went from there? When's the last time you went for a walk? Okay, just by yourself. Just you in life. Well, see, having work-life balance has everything to do with, first of all, identifying that I have to make time for all these things, which means this, not that I have to add more time, but I have to understand that these other components, part of life, has everything to do with and empowering me to be able to do the stuff that I'm working with now. And so as I think about my life and I think about some of the things I had to do, I had to do these things. I had to factor in all these components to help me have the work-life balance that I needed so I can be effective, that I can flow. You see, you think about a pipe, you think about a pipe and there's water going through it. You think about a hose, a garden hose. See, as long as that garden hose is straight, as long as there's no kinks in it, that water's flowing. And that water's flowing to get to the end, to the sprinkle, so it can actually do what it's supposed to do. It can water the plants. It can wash things down. It can cleanse things. It can do all these things. The list goes on. Okay? But if that water hose has a crink in it, if that water hose is bent somewhere, no matter how much water was being pushed into that hose, it's going to stop it. It's going to stop it. And at the end, instead of this flowing amount of spray of water, here to fulfill the purposes that it was sent out for, it's nothing but a drip drip. How many people are dripping today? They're dripping throughout their life because it's something that's constricting them. It's the pressures of life constricting them, or it's the negligence of understanding that you have other components of your life that are fueling your ability to do what it is that you're called to do, fulfilling those areas and empowering you to do the work and manifest yourself that you were meant to do. And so understanding that, you have to take them things into consideration. So I'm going to give you just some tips in terms of some strategies, some things that you can do when you want to have that work-life balance. Okay, again, if you have a pad and pen, make sure you're taking notes, because not only do you want to take down the tips or strategies, you want to actually then turn around and say, what does that look like for you? How are you going to apply it? Okay, I'm going to give you a lot, but guess what? You have to slim it down to find out what works for you in what time frame. So here's one of the things that I like to do is, number one is to, kind of to track your time. What are you spending your time on? One of the great things about the iPhone or your phone that you have, if you go inside the settings and you go inside, some of the areas, they can tell you how much time you spent on your phone and what apps you had open. That's a good place, because there's sometimes I might open it up and it's like, man, I have 60% out of the whole week or day on YouTube. Well, if I'm watching things that's pouring into me, that's adding value, that could be a good thing. But if I'm watching the latest thing of gossip and I'm watching things that criticize, that's tearing me down, if I'm watching the bad news or anything like that, then guess what? Then that meant that I, by an act of my will, decided to spend 60% of my time being poured into. So tracking your time is important. What are you doing? So for like a week or so, just take some time, figure out, what am I doing? Where am I spending my time? Because I can never know where I want to go unless I know where I'm starting at. So tracking your time, okay? Next thing is kind of determine your priorities. What's important to you? We talked about it. What are some of the roles you have? Okay, you may be a father, a husband, a wife, a mother. You may be a co-worker, whatever it may be. So again, determine, what are your priorities? What are the top 5 roles that you have right now? Let's start with that. Let's start with the top 3 to 5, but I like to say 5, through a little more than 3. Go to 5. What are the top 5 roles you have? And determine, what are your priorities? What do you want? What do you want to have to accomplish out of those areas? What is most important to you in those specific areas? Determining your priorities. So that's number 2. Now, next one is you got to set some specific goals. What are some things that you want to accomplish? And give yourself some deadline. Hey, this week, by the end of this week, I want to create 20 videos. And I want to create 20 videos on this specific area, this specific topic. That's a goal. Then it says, by the end of this week, man, I want to go to the gym at least 2 times. Okay, man, you know what? This week I want to read my kids a story, a bedtime story. Or you say, this week, man, I just want to, for every day, I just want to be able to drink 2 glasses of water or a bottle of water a day. It can be very small, but you got to set specific goals. Because if you don't set the goals, remember, I never got in an airplane and went for a destination, and before we ever took off, before we pulled away from the jetway, they didn't put the coordinates in. They put the coordinates in first. They put the direction in first, and so do you. If you want to be able to track your time, if you want to be able to, if you want to be able to set your priorities, and if you want to be able to arrive at the destination and have that work-life balance. Okay, the next thing is basically you got to, just look at yourself and just say, I got to set some boundaries for my life. I got to set some boundaries. One of the ways you can set some boundaries is even with your phone. Okay, there's some apps in your phone where right now, anybody can probably access you at any time. But click the link in your phone where you say do not disturb. Don't disturb me from this time to that time. That's one thing. Another thing that I did is I actually went in my emails on my phone and in my computer, and I turned off notifications. I turned off push notifications so that way I'm not interrupted. I'm not at the expense of somebody else's desire to interrupt me. Because you already know, as you're watching something, probably by the time you watch these messages, whatever you're watching and so on, you probably had about 5 or 10 messages come through. And when it comes through, it can distract you. It can take your mind off what you're trying to do and get developed in, and now it can distract you. Now you feel like you're starting all over with focus. And so turning off some of those things. How about at night? How about basically saying, you know what, I'm going to set some boundaries. I'm only going to do this amount of work. I'm going to work with these things here. And I'm not going to bring work home. Matter of fact, I'm not going to bring the book bag. I'm not going to bring the briefcase. I'm going to leave it here. And when I come home, if you set your priorities right, you will always find the opportunity to now change and turn that energy and focus into something different. Here's where most people fail. If they don't prioritize their life and they don't decide to say, hey, what are the other areas that's important to me? Then the only area that they're going to be able to focus on and give attention to is the work area. But if they don't say, you know what, I'm a husband or I'm a wife, or if they don't say, hey, I'm a father or I'm a mother, if they don't have any other roles, any other areas that they feel like they need to focus on or they can develop and cultivate in, then all they're going to do is they're going to go from work at one place and they're going to bring work back home. But once they decide to say, hey, what are these area priorities? When I come home, I click right into, now how do I apply this? How do I grow in this area? Why? Because I started with the end in mind. I put the coordinates in before I even took off, okay? And because I went through and I processed that. So next things, that you can do to have this work-life balance is definitely taking care of yourself. Take care of your health. Listen, you got one body. Hear me closely. You got one body. Nobody can do for your body more than you can do. Nobody can drink and sip, drink on some water like you're supposed to. Nobody can make you healthy. Okay, but only you can do it. And matter of fact, when you take care of your health, it gives you the ability to work longer. It gives you the ability to focus more. It gives you the ability to be more creative. It gives you the ability. I know as a speaker and as a coach and life coach and trainer, okay, there's times that if I'm not in a good place, or if there's a lot of tension around me and relationships and all that with my intimate relationships, then guess what? I don't feel like I'm as effective, meaning that I'm free to flow. I'm free to discern. That means that if I'm coaching somebody and I'm coaching them, I'm listening to their situation. If my mind is going with the problems that I'm having and the other issues, okay, because I'm not taking care of myself, or I'm too tired because I haven't getting any rest, if I'm having any of these factors, then I'm not going to be able to be totally present there, and I'm not going to be as effective as I would be if I took care of myself. And so taking care of yourself, is a very, very important, because it helps you improve your mental clarity. It helps boost your energy. It helps relieve stress. It helps all these things. Taking care of yourself. The next one is nurturing your relationships. See, you're in a family because a family is so important. You can't do it by yourself. And so there are some people in your family, yes, that may be toxic. There's some people that you need to get away from. But then there's also some people that you need around. There, as I said, if our life is a tree, if 95% of people are here for the fruit of your tree, who's the 5% that's taking care of the root? Who are the ones pouring into you? Because those are the things you're going to need. Those are the relationships you have to cultivate, that you have to nurture, that you have to make sure that, hey, I'm reaching out to you. Once a week, you can say once a week, I'm going to have on Mondays or Tuesdays or Wednesdays, I'm going to have those days where I'm just going to have a tailored message. Okay, I'm going to take a message. Okay, hey, how are you doing? I was thinking about you. I hope all is okay. And you copy and paste that, and you just go through your phone. Okay, and you just text and copy and paste that and text it out to several people. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to be amazed. You're going to be amazed and fulfilled by the responses you get, just because you were intentional and because you cultivated and nurtured that relationship. I guarantee you it comes back to you to bless you. It comes back when you most need it most. Those individuals are right there. Now they're reaching out to you. They possibly be reaching out to you, and the fact that you're reaching out to them. And as you go through tough, you don't have to feel like you're alone. So again, nurture your relationship. Next thing, man, is so important, man. Make time for you. Make time for you. You got your schedules calculated so much to the dime on how you're going to send in reports, how many people you're going to call for this business, for that, the other, but where's the time for yourself? Make some times for you. As much as you work, as much as you pour into, as much as you do all those other things, man, take at least 30 minutes of uninterrupted time. When you come home from work, tell the family, listen, I need 30 minutes. I need 30 minutes where y'all don't ask me anything. Matter of fact, you may even not say, hey, mommy, or hey, daddy. No, I just need 30 minutes. I'm good. I'm going to come and check on y'all, but I just need 30 minutes. And allow yourself to get deprogrammed, okay? Allow yourself to unwind. Take some time for yourself, because if you don't, then everybody else is going to fill that time up. They're going to fill that time up with you. And so again, setting aside time. If that means waking up earlier in the morning, okay, wake up early in the morning where it's uninterrupted. Nobody ain't hardly emailing that early. Nobody's really up that early, but you're up. And you're able to spend time, prayer, meditation, devotion, thinking, contemplating, figuring things out, or just being. Either way, by taking time for yourself is some of the most important things you can do. And so listen, those are a few things, man. I have a bunch of other strategies that I like to use. That I like to use for my life and for helping other people to strategize through their life. But again, what are some of the strategies that you like to use? What are some of the ways that you can have work-life balance as well? Again, and also on the network, you'll be able to see even more expanded as well. I'm putting all these things inside one of my books on relationships. And so again, you can definitely check that out for the full versions of all the different strategies you can use for work-life balance. So listen, I hope you enjoyed that. If you like the message, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and share, okay? Make sure you take it down, put it to heart, and apply it. Don't just be a hearer, be a doer of it, and then allow it to happen, allow it to work for you as well. Listen, you guys be blessed, man, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.